DBS community, welcome back to another video here with Chris, and today I'm excited to go over my Mechikabura list from over the weekend at our store champs, at one of the store champs that I was able to go to. And I'm taking first, went undefeated, 4-0. I actually only dropped one total game the whole day, everything else was a 2-0. It's a very, very powerful deck. I hope more people, want to invest into playing it, but the problem is right now is that black is such a very... It's just a color right now. This is probably going to be one of the last black decks that I play for a while, except for good old Trim and Salsa, which I think could be very good next set, whether the new leader is good or not. The old leader can actually work pretty well too. But we'll go over the deck here and kind of give you guys what how I felt the deck actually played out. So this is a wish leader. So when you swing, you search your life in your deck for 2 Dark Dragon Balls, up to 2 Dark Dragon Balls, and you grab them from your life or your deck. You shuffle any areas you look through, and you awaken at 7, which you are restand 1, draw 1, and you warp a card from your opponent's drop area, which is very important to keep in mind. Sometimes you want to kind of hold your awaken in order to do that. And on this side, you swing, you draw, and you have a second effect where you bottom deck a card to either steal one of your opponent's battle cards 4 or less, you negate its skills, switch it to active mode, and then take it. Or you remove all 7 Dragon Balls and you get triple attack. And every time you attack, you draw, since it's not a once per turn. Now this is a 60 card list, and you have to run 60 cards because of these 7 cards here. Since these kind of cycle through your deck because these are Dragon Balls, the problem is sometimes you'll get a lot of these in your life. If you have 2, it's fine. 3 sucks, but it's manageable. 4, probably not winnable, depending on the matchup. So you want to make sure you're having more cards in your deck. Ups the percentage of there not being a ball or multiple balls in your life. So this ball here is free if your leader's Mechikabura. And with Mechikabura, we have the effect of you pitch this, or you activate this effect, you pitch it, you pitch a ball or a demon with it, and you draw 2, and your opponent warps a card from their drop area. So it's nice that you can swing with your leader, do whatever, like go to 10, maybe they want a card in the drop area, and then you just activate this, pitch another ball that you just drew, and then you draw 2, and then they warp a card. You want to get at least 4 cards in your opponent's warp. That's when your deck starts, kind of everything turns online when you have more than 4 in their warp. That's kind of what this card does. This card here has a little more usage. I actually thought about bumping this to 4 and then going to 3 on the draw one. I'm gonna have to test it, but in theory it makes sense. So this card is a 5k combo. It's like a 4-star ball. Also you can pitch it off this effect. But also you can just activate it, and then your opponent warps one of their 1-drops on board. So BMS as a deck is a card that people think really hurts this deck. In theory it does if we didn't have this free 1-drop removal. But also just getting rid of other pesky 1-drops on board for free is really good. So there's a world where it may go up to 4 and you just swap the ratios a little bit, but this is what most people run. That's pretty standard there. So then we have your 1-drop plays, which we have 3 Dark Power Black Mass Saiyan. 3 is fine because we run another 1-drop in the deck as well. But this hits all the main state meta decks right now. You have Gamma, Trunks, Vegeta, Goku GT, hits things like Yellow Sin, hits a lot of the rogue decks. A lot of people are playing battle cards for cheaper now, so anything 15k or less, your opponent has to drop 2 cards. Also allows you to self-awaken. You can swing it to take a life and go down to 5, so you have access to your token negate, or 4, so you have access to your super combo. We only run 3 because it's not a demon, but we do run a 1-drop demon in its place. This is Toa Twisted Sister. This is a card that this deck needed, and for whatever reason, when I saw the card when Mechikabura came out, I just never really looked at it, and then I started thinking about it. I'm like, this card actually does a lot for the deck. So it does multiple things. One, it's a demon, so we can pitch it off of this if we need to. That's always good. Second thing, it is a counterplay. So this can be activated on either turn when your opponent plays a battle card. When this card's played, you draw 1, you choose a card in your opponent's drop area, a card, not a battle card, a card, and you shuffle it back into their deck. So why is this card good? So U7's a very powerful deck in the meta right now, and Mechikabura doesn't have a lot of access to warping cards from their drop because our opponent has to choose. Well, what this card does is this card allows you to put back any card they just milled into their deck. So secret rare or whatever, right? The idea of this is you can use this early to kind of stop them from awakening, or stop them from being able to play out Frieza and Android 17 and a bunch of stuff like that, like in multiple facets, right? Also, in other matchups, it's really good. So this card also helps you with Broly Crown. If you have 2 energy up, they play Broly Crown. You play this, you draw a card, and then their Broly Crown effect doesn't go off. Works in the mirror matchup. You can bottom deck balls so that way they can't awaken. Against Cell, which was actually one of the most represented decks at the store championships that I went to, when they put the androids in the drop area off their leader effect. Then they play an android, a Cell to start doing the absorbing. You can play this, and then you can bottom deck the 17, and now they can't awaken, or they can't go up their chain. So very, very powerful card. This should be a 2 of in this deck in the main board, potentially more in the side as meta kind of evolves, but 2 in the main board for sure. That is the correct way to go. Then we have the Ritual at Hand cards. This is pretty standard stuff. So we have, sorry, a little bit of a glare there. Adjust my little light here. Perfect. All right. So we have 4 Salsa, 4 Toa, and 3 Shroom. So all these cards come out for 1 if you have 2 Dark Dragon Balls or more in the drop area. If once you use your leader effect to get rid of all 7 Dragon Balls, you cannot play these guys for 1 anymore. So just make sure you're careful of that. And they all have different effects. So Salsa, when Salsa comes into play, your opponent warps a card from their hand and then draws a card. And then when this card attacks, your opponent warps a battle card from their drop area. Regardless if they do that or not, or if they have no battle cards, it doesn't matter. You get to draw a card. And then you can't activate autos on this card for the turn. So in the sense of playing Salsa, I forgot. All of these cards, when you play them, you can burst up to 2 Dragon Balls from your deck. So why that's good. In certain aggro matchups, you want to get awoken as quick as possible. I awoken on turn 1, turn 2 most games. The idea is you can play out multiple of these to burst balls, and then your leader draws you 2. So you would have to play, you would have to hopefully start with the ball in your hand, draw 2 off your leader, pitch 2 off of this, and then play 2 more, and then like you're awoken already. Now his effect. So if you're playing out multiple Salsas, you actually can play out 2 Salsas, and their top effects will go off as long as you don't swing at the first one. So you play 2, they warp 2, they draw 2, and then you swing at this guy, they warp 1 from the drop, and you draw 1. This is kind of like your mini draw engine. Play one of those. Toa is incredible. Toa is a max power Kamehameha in the form of a battle card. So you play this, your opponent warps 1 from their hand and draws 1, and then you warp anything on board. Any battle card on board, no energy requirement needed. Does not ignore barrier. When you play this, now this is also a blocker. That's why I'm saying it's kind of like it's like a max power because this card's going to stop at least 1 attack, potentially 2 attacks because you're going to warp something on board. This card's very, very good. And then we have 3 Shroom. Shroom was always been told as like the worst out of the 3 because the effect is on attack, not on play. And you also need to have 2 or more energy, so you can't do this turn 1. What this card does is when you play this card, when you swing at this guy, your opponent warps something from the drop, and then you warp something on board 3 or less. So why this card's good is that there's a lot of matchups now. Balmum, not so much Cell, but like other red decks, they always play kind of like low to the ground cards. So if this card survives and you can swing at this guy, this is warping from drop and on board. So you're getting 2 for the price of 1, and then you can also swing at something else. So you can swing at a battle card, or you can swing at a unison or whatever, and then you just warp, and then you just warp stuff on board. It's really, really powerful, and this is not once per turn, so you can actually play multiple of these and then just get rid of an entire board. It's very, very good. But you do need to have these in there for self-awakening purposes, so you need to make sure you're drawing them and not pitching them off of your ball effect, not putting them back off mulligans. You do need to have at least like 1 or 2 of these in your starting hand. 4 of the Supreme Kai of Time, Guardian of Space Time. I never thought about running this card. I think it was Joey Palladino from Crossworlds. Shout out to you, Joey, if you're watching the video. I don't know if you do or not. But I saw him play this, and I thought, that's a really good card, because he was playing it in Toa, and I was doing the same thing. I just never thought about putting it in Mechikabura. But this card, being a 10k, if you have less than 5 cards in hand, is incredibly powerful. For one, this allows you to hand dump really well, but also, this card gives you so much defense. There's games where I had 2 or 3 of these in hand, and my opponent's like swinging with a bunch of stuff, and I'm like, I feel safe. Like, it's impossible for them to be able to kill me. I can't die right now. And this card, so if you have 5 cards when you combo with this, and then if you have less than 5 cards in hand, gains 5k combo for the battle. Definitely need to be at 4 of, can't run anything less. That's one of the best cards in the deck. Moving on to some of the negates, we have 2 Poutine negates. This card just gets worse and worse as the formats kind of adjust and change. It is a floodgate. It's a 2-drop floodgate, and if it plays, you have the choice of bottom decking a card. If you do, every time your opponent attacks, you have to warp 2 cards from their hand. So this card's great. However, in a format where Broly Crown, Vegeta Resolve Renewed are very popular, Blue's also making a comeback in some way, this card just feels really bad. So having 2 of is still good because it's still a demon, so you can pitch it off your ball. But in certain tight situations, you can slam this down, and it is going to stop a turn. But running more than 2 just doesn't feel very good right now. 2 felt pretty good. Nothing wrong with 2. The better negate is Darkness Judgment. So this card here needs to be at the 4 of in the deck. Anyone tells you anything otherwise than 4, they're lying to you. So this card is a multifaceted defensive card. So 1, this card is a negate. It's a 1-drop negate. Extra card, which is good. Second thing, if your opponent has more than 3 cards in the warp, you can activate its Activate Battle for free. And what that does is you can give any card 5k for the turn. Now this is only on defense, so you cannot do it offensively. But being able to give your leader 5k for the turn, making your leader at 20k against a red deck is great. You can activate as many of these as you want. So if you have all 4 of them in your hand, and it's like your opponent's like going all in, that's 20k combo power you have for the turn. So your leader then becomes a 35k, obviously on your Awakened side, but like that's a really powerful effect, right? So having this in the deck is just amazing. There's times where you have this in like a Kai or like a super combo or something. You're just like, I can't die here. They cannot kill me, and they're wasting cards in hand trying to get over this. So definitely need to be at the 4 of. Probably the biggest change to the deck is the Unison Super Mirror. So you guys probably watched the video maybe when this card came out, and I made a Mechikabura video talking about this card. This card, I cannot tell you how well this card performed. There were matchups, however, where I didn't need it. A lot of aggro matchups, I didn't feel like playing this card out because I could do other things. But being able to, if you get to turn 3 and you're not awoken yet, and you can slam this down on turn 3 and then awaken and get 1 energy back, you're probably going to win that game. So what this card does, it's a 20k battle. It's a 20k Unison card. +1, you play 2 demon tokens, which gives you 10k combo power, essentially. Which I did a few games. When I was swinging with my leader, I used the +1 on this to add 2 cards to the board, swung with my leader, and then comboed them. That way I had 10 extra combo power. Or you can -1, and you choose one of your skills battle cards, remove it from the game, draw 1, choose 1 of your opponent's battle cards, and send it to the warp. Now, why is this card good? Because you say, well, we're not really playing a lot of skills, right? Well, our leader effect makes battle cards skillless, and we gain control over them. So then, because we are the master of the card, it now becomes our card, and it is a skillless card. So by wording, you can actually use this -1, this bottom +1, to banish their card from the game, draw a card, and then warp a card off this effect. It is incredibly powerful. It's just being able to, like, you steal a card with this. So like, let's say like this is the card we're stealing, right? You steal the card, you can then swing with it, do whatever you want, and then you can +1 to remove it from the game. So now they don't have access to it. It doesn't go to the warp, the drop, back to hand, nothing. It just gets removed from the game. You draw 1, and then you can warp something else. It's a very powerful effect, and definitely needs to be looked at as a wording change, because it is a really powerful effect. I don't think it's gonna ever get like changed just because this deck, there's not so many people who pilot this deck. But if it ever did, and this became a big thing, I could see it being hit, because this interaction is incredibly powerful. The top effect even too is that you can choose one of your skills battle cards and you give it blocker for the turn. Now, this is double-edged sword. You cannot give the skills cards that you steal off your Unison blocker. Technically, you can give them blocker, but they will not retain the skill because their skills are negated for the game. So if you have a skills battle card on board, you can't give it double strike, you can't give it crit, you can't give it blocker off this effect, because the cards will it'll just lose its skill. So keep that in mind, please. But you can play tokens, right? You can +1 play 2 tokens and then give 1 blocker. Sets up a good defensive turn for things if you do need it. but it's a really just versatile unison. There's no reason to play Bardock anymore. This is the unison that you want to play. Turn 2, there's other things that we can do. Turn 3, you have this as an option to play on turn 3 and above. Definitely needs to be a 4 of in most matchups, and then if you get into like side decking options, you may need to take one out just to add something else in. And then we have 2 King Vegeta. This is going to go back up to 3 if I ever play the deck again. This was the MVP of the entire weekend. So it's a double strike barrier unique. Comes down, your opponent warps. You get to warp a card on board, or you get to choose a random card in your opponent's hand, which is definitely the better option. When this card's in rest mode, your opponent, if they swing at your leader once per turn, they have to warp a card from their hand. So why this card's good? So a lot of newer players will focus so heavily on trying to remove this card, and the effect isn't really that taxing. If you have like 12 cards in hand, just swing at my leader, right? But most players will just like focus on trying to kill this, and then you do a Dark's Judgment. Now it's at 24k, and now they don't feel like swinging because like, well, I'm not getting any value out of it, so I'm just gonna swing, just dead swings just to draw. And now this guy restands, and now you have a 19k double strike for next turn too. So it just depends on the matchup. But this card is incredibly powerful. This card demolishes green decks because they can't do anything to it. So I'm probably going to end up adding a third one in here. Oh yeah, and it costs 2 if your opponent has more than 3 cards in the warp. So there were games that on turn 3, I played out a bunch of little guys. Yeah, did a bunch of stuff. Awoken, had 2 energy up, just plop this guy down, swing. And between that and having Darkness Judgment and Kai in hand, it's just like I'm safe. They're not going to be able to kill me. So this is going to go up to 3 for sure. I play the deck again. 3 support the Dark Empire. Token negate. Has some usage with the Mirror Unison as well. If you token negate and they don't kill your token, now you have a free token to pop to draw a card and kill something else. But also just gives you defense. Very good. Once you get down to 5, this becomes active, and then card ends up saving you a lot of situations. Some more defense. 2 Kais. Probably the most underperforming card of the entire weekend. I used it a few times. Comes up quite a bit. Aggro matchups, it's good because if you can get 3 cards in your opponent's warp, and then this card becomes live. So if you or your opponent have 3 cards in the warp. So if they have 3 cards in the warp, this card just becomes live really, really early. And it's really good against dual attackers. I did play it against Gamma, which is kind of what the purpose of this card is, just to stop Gamma from killing you with those stupid dual attackers. Whether it's Cell or the Android 1718 twins. But being able to use this to stop them from attacking, it'll come back on their field, and then I can steal the dual attacker, and there's a bunch of stuff you can do, but it's needed. You have to run it. It just wasn't performing very well. Petrification, another card that did not perform super well. Could have just been my matchups, but you have to run it. Negate, pitch a card, choose a card, can't activate skills, and remember, this card stops pending autos. So if your opponent's playing Gamma and you use this, and they say, okay, go ahead, bottom deck 1, say no. Your effect never triggered. I don't have to bottom deck 1. Same thing with the 8-drop Goku and U7. They don't get to look at your hand. Same thing with the 8-drop Gogeta. You don't have to warp any cards. There's a lot of effect for this card. So it's definitely one of the best black cards. You just have to run it because it's a good staple. Another good staple, Super Kamehameha. Self-explanatory. This is a counterplay. Anything 3 or less. Less than 4, you can take a life to activate it again. Or to activate it instead. It's needed. Gotta have a counterplay, since black doesn't have any other counterplays. Super Saiyan Vegeta super combo. This is the one of choice you need to run with the deck. Toa. As much as I love the effect of Toa, being able to fix my hand by bottom decking a card and drawing 2 fresh cards is way better than just drawing just 1 early. I don't care if I go down to 4 life. I've gone down to 1 and just felt safe because I have these, and I have Kai, and I have Darkness Judgment. It's really hard to kill this deck sometimes. So this is definitely the better super combo. Gotta run it. Now for the boss monsters. So we did 2 8-drops and 1 Devilish Dominator in the main board. Dark King and this card both come out for 4. They both need Devilish Dominator needs 3 cards in your opponent's warp to play it out for 4. Dark King needs 4 cards in your opponent's warp. So that's why you need at least 4 to be able to play everything in your deck. So Dark King is a 30k deflect double strike. When it comes into play, you warp your entire opponent's board, choose 2 cards under 7 cost with different names in their warp, play on your field with their skills negated. A lot of the time, I will choose super combos. I'll choose one super combo that's like a 10k, and I'll choose something else. That way I have the ability to use their super combo, as long as it's like a 10k super combo, right? I have taken this before in matchups. I didn't get to do it today, but if I'm playing against a black deck, you take their Vegeta. You should be able to combo with it, right? Yeah, so you can actually yeah, okay. I'll make sure I did that right. So you can steal it, and you can use their Vegeta to combo cards. It's really cool. It's a really cool effect. But in other matchups, you just steal like the most important cards, their bigger cards, and then use them as attackers. And this card's a 30k double strike swing. Play this card in the dormant. This card's really good in the green. Green really can't do anything with this card. Now for this card actually won me, I think actually I think it won me 3 of my rounds. Actually won me all my rounds except for finals. Dark King Devilish Dominator. So this is a 25k deflect triple strike. When this card swings, you choose 2 battle cards in your opponent's drop area, you warp them, and then if they have more than 10, it restands, making this a 25k triple strike dual attack. Second effect, if your opponent negates if they activate a counter skill during this card's attack, you get to choose one of their life and warp it. Now, once they get the 3 life, you play this card, you swing, it's going to be game realistically, unless they can, negate. But if they have, at that time, they should have probably about 8, 9, maybe 10 cards already in the warp. So this card's going to be a dual attacker. Not to mention your leader and anything else you have on board. This card is just devastating. Absolutely devastating. I think this is the right call for now. I knew it was going to go up against a lot of green, which is why I didn't play this. I didn't want to main deck a second one, but this card ended up winning me every game. So it's weird. It's like I saw it every time. I only needed the one. I think I played Mechikabura maybe 2 or 3 times, but just seeing this card just absolutely just changes the game against almost everything. Now for the one-ofs, we have 5 one-ofs in this deck. So we have Brainwash No More. I was using it more as an attacker. It's a free 30k body, so you actually can use this as a way to kind of like push for game. But also you can pop it to crit a life and to stop your opponent from dealing damage to you for the battle. So if your opponent goes in on like a gigantic double strike, you can just pop this and then they lose all that effectiveness. You don't take any damage. 1 Ginyu Body Snatcher. When you steal a battle card, you can now activate this for free. Essentially a Black New Ruler for this deck. So you play it, it's a 20k double strike, and this card does not have once per turn or limit one or whatever. So if you have multiple of their battle cards, you can play multiple of these. It's a very, very cool effect. But just 1 in the main deck. It's just we didn't have space for more. 1 Hidden Power East Supreme Kai. We use Kai because we're not bad at the game, and we don't forget to call double strike. So I'm always going to call double strike with this. 1 Mira. This was in the side deck before Store Champs, and then I put it in the main deck because this card just closes out games. In the sense of being able to take your opponent down from 3 to 1 is probably the easiest way of just winning games, right? Your opponent can't stop this in most games, but being able to like if you're using your leader effect, being able to combo with this, or swing with this or swing with Mechi or whatever and take them down to 1 life. Most decks can't, unless it's blue, they have an energy open. Most decks can't stop this from attacking. This is going to come down, you're going to swing for infinite, and then you're just going to win the game. It's a really hard card to stop. It's in there definitely as a one of. There's been matchups where I'm like, okay, I'm never gonna actually play this card. I'll just charge it. But in other matchups, I'm like, okay, cool. I have it in my hand just as a one of, and it's 1 energy, so that I know I can just pop this and just go for game. And then we ran Kai, Space Time Unraveler as a secret rare. This is, I think, the correct secret rare to run for the deck. There's a few different options, but being able to stop unisons in this format is really powerful. Whether it's Unison-Ku, whether it's Cooler, whether it's just any deck that's playing a unison that has like multiple attacks. And if they forget to swing with their leader first, you can play this and then they get locked out of swing with their leader. You tap 1, you warp everything on board, including their unison, and now you have a free board. It's very, very powerful. It gets blue as well. Playing this, and then they're not going to waste a God Sealing on it generally. But if they do, you just play it again. And then you -1, and then you just get rid of everything on board. So it's a very, very good card. Got my cool Fire Emblem tokens I got. Edelgard. If you guys play Fire Emblem, you should. If you guys don't, you're I don't know. You guys are missing out. It's a good game. For side deck, we have one extra Devilish Dominator. Surprisingly enough, came in against green matchups. That's mainly what I played. I was kind of confused. It was just performing so well because I was just removing unisons without them being able to keep Friezas up. And I'm like, okay, well, because they don't have Frieza, this card just becomes just lethal because they're not going to dormant this attack. It just doesn't really make much sense. 2 ultimate minus energy ball. Never came in once. I think it's just going to get removed from the side deck. I think I would rather put in Hunt of the Demon God for dormant. Yeah, this is probably going to come in for ultimate minus ball. It just didn't really, in this format, it just wasn't really that effective. At least right now. It may in the future. The main reason why you play this is to get rid of 15k's ignoring barrier, but we have another card that ignores barrier, so this card is probably going to get cut. There's a few other options I'm going to think about, but that's if I play the deck again. 3 to board, Ritual at hand. Perfect card for this store champs that I went to. Came in every time I played against green. I've hard casted this card in like later games, but just being able to just pitch this and just draw 2, very powerful. Last minute addition, Ultimate Dragon Slaying Bullet. Good against unison decks, and they play a unison, you play this. Or if they declare that they're playing a unison and you play this, they have to put in the drop or take a marker off for every 2 cards when they're dropping their warp. If they don't, they get 1 attack for the turn. Card kind of stops Unison-Ku from being able to function. They play the Gohan, you play this. They have to uptick then and pass, and you just saved yourself a turn. Second effect's kind of cool. You activate main or battle. Your opponent chooses one of their battle cards with the energy cost less than the cards in their drop, and they send it to the warp. What's cool about this is if your opponent decides to like go all in on the battle card, and they got a bunch of cards on the board, right? U7, like they could do like Vegeta or just something, right? You can use this and activate it. If it's the only card on their board, they have to warp it and then just ends the battle. It's kind of cheeky. Doesn't come up a lot, but it is there mainly for the counterplay effect. 2 Broken Seals. Broken Seal is amazing. It's a demon, so you can pitch it. It also allows you to grab back. It also grabs a Dragon Ball from your deck, a Dark Dragon Ball to be specific. So this actually allows us to grab another ball. Also, if you know the meta, if you know what your opponent's playing, you play this. Just call whatever it is that they're trying to play. They can't do it. Saves you a turn. Came in almost every game. It's not good enough to be in the side in a best of 3. I'm sorry. It's not good enough to be in the main board in a best of 3, I should say. But it came in every game just because I found things that I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take this out, put these in, then I can use this to call whatever it is. So it's a very, very good side deck card. 2 Koitsukai. I was expecting yellow and gamma. This card just kind of shreds hands, just doesn't allow them to play battle cards out in any of their tokens or their floodgates, just puts them in a bind. Also allows you to, this card's just great. Being able to just bottom deck 2 cards just to see 2 more cards, or bottom deck 1 card to see another card, is also just a very good mechanic. Just being able to just cycle through stuff, it's very good. 2 Demon God Shroom Imperial Warrior. This should get bumped up to 3. This was probably the highest like overvalued card that I had in my side. It never came in because it didn't play any of the matchups that I needed to play against it, but this card is so good in this deck. So you play it for 1 if you have a token in play. So you use your Mirai Unison, you uptick, you play a token, then you can play this guy. This is a 15k crit. This card swings, you Spirit Boost, and you remove a skillless from your board from the game. So you can choose any of your the cards that you steal or your token. You choose one of your opponent's battle cards, 4 or less, ignoring barrier, and you send it to the warp. So again, this is basically for Trunks Vegeta. You just shit on Trunks Vegeta with this card. And how the combination works is you play Unison, or you have Unison in play already. You uptick to play 2 tokens, and then one of those tokens will come in rest mode, triggering the Trunks. And then you play the Shroom for 1, swing, warp the Trunks, and you're just removing value on board now, and you're swinging 15k crit, which is also good. It just has crit naturally. It's just kind of funny. And then the last card is Dark Max King, Deluge of Darkness. This is a 25k double strike deflect. When you swing at this card, when this card attacks, your opponent warps 1 card from their life for every 10 cards in their warp. So if you get them up to, like, if they overrun the last turn, they go up to like 20-30 cards in their warp, you swing at this, that deals 3 damage instantly. So it's just kind of a way to just finish games. It's like an uninteractive burn damage type of thing. The second effect on this is that if you send a card from your opponent's life to the warp, you send one of your life to the warp. However, because it's a different effect, whenever you swing at this, they warp their life first. So if they end up dying before you can actually take your own life, you end up winning the game. It's also a 5k combo, so it's pretty cool. Against green, it's not very good, but against blue, its card's solid. Against yellow, it's okay depending on the matchup. But this is just, I think you need to have in the side just to be able to use it. So matchups were round 1 was Cell. It was like a hand destruction Cell. It was strange. It was like a cooler Cell deck. Round 2 I played against the Mirror. I played against Shadow Fox, if you guys know who Shadow Fox is from Hermit Style. We played the Mirror, and I saw my King Vegetas and my Secret Rare every single time, and he kept playing I think both games he played Mirror, a bunch of other stuff, and I just Kai'd and just warped everything. And then having a Vegeta on board also just kind of, if you have the Vegeta and your opponent doesn't have the Vegeta, it ends up just being a one-sided game. Game 3 was against another Cell. That one was pretty easy. I was able to just kind of warp everything from the drop. He was playing more of a traditional Cell build with like this yellow-green arrival stuff. It was pretty cool. But every time he put something in the drop, I just warped it. So he wasn't able to really go up his chain because I just kept warping everything. And the final round was against Red Bardock, the Red Bardock's crew deck. Very aggro deck, but I also can transition into being an aggro deck because I have 10 1-drops that all can swing 15 or 10k or more. So it just makes it very easy to be able to just kind of deal with the board, and then also being able to awaken early. You can steal their card, get another attack. Matchup's not too difficult, but it was fun nevertheless. So and we're going undefeated. I lost one game to the first hand destruction Cell guy. I lost by 5k. It was a weird game, but all the other games I ended up winning. So didn't drop another game the rest of the day. Very fun deck. I suggest people, if you guys have any more store championships and stuff coming up, if you haven't played this deck and you wanted to give it a try, try this list. This list is, I've done a lot of testing with it. It's pretty solid. The sideboard can always be adjusted depending on what you're playing against meta-wise, but this is a good leader. Don't let people tell you otherwise. It's a solid deck. Black is not dead just because you can't run thwarting. This deck definitely shows that. So thank you guys for watching the video. Hope you guys like the video. Like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.